So here's a simple sequence that you can use to exercise and warm up your lower body mostly. It's going to do a lot towards sort of lubricating your ankles, your knees, your hips, and even a little bit into your back. So give it a try. Have a good sense of humor about it. Don't stress too much. Be relaxed. Try to breathe into your abdomen as much as you can. Breathe in and out through the nose. Follow the sequence, and of course, if it feels too vigorous for you, you just do it a little bit easier. Try to find a way to modify it for you, and I'll suggest some modifications as we go. Maybe you don't go as deep, maybe you don't go as far, maybe you don't do as many repetitions. Just enjoy it. You shouldn't feel exhausted afterwards. You should feel gently invigorated. But you might feel that you've done a little bit of work. And if you feel like you want to do a little bit more work and get a little more energy out of it, feel free to go a little bit deeper, do a few more repetitions. Just try to get a little bit more out of it however you can. So I hope you enjoy and have fun. So find a comfortable place to practice and really feel yourself grounded in that spot. Taking a few moments, we'll just rock side to side and begin to feel the center of your body sinking into the space that you've chosen. Loosening up the ankles a little bit and bending the knees slightly to sink your weight. Coming up a few times onto the tips of the toes, squeezing a little bit through the backside and keeping a good strong trunk in order to feel that you can now balance up onto the toes. Try to take a few seconds at the top of your feet, feeling forward and backwards, side to side, quite balanced. Breathing comfortable through the stomach, in and out through the nose. We'll begin to roll through the ankle. Try to take as big of a circle through the ankle joint as you can, both the outside, inside, front, and back. And we'll go both directions on both ankles. First, sort of moving it around on the floor like a mortar and pestle, and then with the ankle in the air. So you begin to feel balance. We'll do the same thing with the other ankle. And of course, if you feel like you have some stiffness or some injuries in any areas, just be a little bit more careful and slowly move through those spots where there's some restrictions. Do your best to relax every part of your body that you're not using in each exercise. Now we'll let the ankle roll as we make big circles with both knees. This is actually moving the hips, the knees, the ankles, the toes, even a little bit of the spine. Again, feeling your center of gravity and your point of balance. Putting all the weight on the outside edges of the foot, we'll try to rock back and forth from side to side. And take this as you can. Some people will have less movement in the ankles than others. And now placing the weight on the inside edge of the foot, do the same thing, shifting the weight left to right. If you're able to, you take the front of the foot off the ground and try to take a moment and balance on the heels. It'll be quite challenging, so do your best. Or you could skip this stage. Now we'll work a little bit on balance and strength in the hip. We'll try to have a really strong leg that's connected to the ground. And then we're going to drive the other knee up. Bring it as high as you can comfortably go without bending forward or breaking at the hip. You might take a hand up and try to gently touch the hand with your knee, but make sure that you're not reaching down the arm to tap your knee. And go as high as you're comfortable. It might be very low, it might be very high, and if the balance is a little so-so, you might want to hold on to something. You could put the foot down on the ground between each repetition, or you could try to do it without putting your foot down, which takes a little bit more strength and endurance. Really trying not to bend your knee, bend the hip, bend forward at the waist or in the back. The whole body's strong, you're focused, you're bringing the knee up towards the palm or into the air. With this next version, we're going to bring the knee straight out to the side, which is quite challenging on balance. So having the arms out may help you counterbalance a little bit. And again here, you could have the foot touching the ground in between, or you can try to hold the leg up the whole way through to build up some endurance. And I'm doing about 10 repetitions on each side. Notice that I don't want to bend side to side when I'm doing this, or even bring the arm down to touch the leg. This time we're swinging the leg backwards a little bit, but again without bending the back too much. So a slight swing, making sure that you're not bending too much to the back or leaning too much forward or to the sides. Between 5 and 10 repetitions on each side. This is a great balance exercise. But if your balance is shaky, you can hold on to a chair or have your hand on a wall. This one's good for coordination. First we swing the leg behind and across, and then in front and across. And you can use your arms to counterbalance a little bit. I'm exhaling every time I bring the leg across here. Now a very concentrated exercise for hip mobility, bending the 90 degrees. I'm trying to make the biggest circle I can with my hip. Keeping that knee bent is really important. The knee starts facing outwards, and then the foot swings back and towards the space directly behind me. And I try to make a big circle around the hip joint. Take your time, don't rush this part. If you do it slowly, it's great for your balance and also for all your torso muscles too. Still breathing through the stomach. Relax. Now I'm going to let my heels come up as I go into a deep knee bend. You lower yourself down until about the point where the thighs are just about parallel with the ground, trying to keep your back in vertical as much as you can. This will challenge the balance a little bit, but also really working on the thigh muscles. Nice and slow, controlled. Descend and come back up. If you're not so strong, you might only come up halfway. And then we're going to hold it for a few breaths here, or as long as you're comfortable to hold it. Progressing from here, we'll start with the deep knee bend, but now folding through the hips, straightening the legs, and coming up with a nice straight back. When you come up out of this position, make sure you're using your hip muscles and not just lifting up through the back muscles. So first you straighten the back and then you drive up with the buttocks. Exhale to empty your breath as you squeeze the stomach towards the thighs. And you keep the stomach glued towards the thighs as you come up and then hinge out. Notice the heels are lifting up off the ground here. Really let them go ahead and lift. Here as I'm inhaling, I'm going to lengthen the spine. Then as I exhale, I'm going to squeeze the belly towards the thighs and the thighs towards the belly, using the breath to squeeze closer each time in order to get a lot of length in the spine. But here the knees could be bent a little bit in order to facilitate this. The next version, same thing, but now I'm pumping the legs. So as I inhale, I bend the knees quite deeply, and as I exhale, I try to straighten out the legs as far as I can, and even lift the front of the foot off the ground to further stretch the posterior chain of the legs. Really try to keep a fairly straight spine here. Then we go into a twist. Again, squeeze the stomach towards the thighs, placing one hand on the sacrum, and we try to twist down the length of the spine a few times. Try to stay nice and loose and use the breath to pump through the movement. This is a great exercise for many different parts of the body. What I'm going to do is bend my left leg as I completely straighten the right and bring the arm around full circle. I'm going to look at the palm the whole way around and try to make the biggest circle as possible with the shoulder. So whatever arm is moving, that leg on the same side is bent and the other leg is straightened. This is great if you have some tension in the hamstrings, in the back, in the neck, or in the shoulder. Inhaling, the arms come back, and then exhaling as the arm comes back and forward. You could have your hand raised up on a block or something here. And we'll take a moment to roll up the spine one vertebra at a time as we come back up again and relax and loosen up the back. So this is a challenging half squat. You may not want to go down as deep, or if you're very strong and flexible, you could even go deeper. First, keeping the soles of the feet planted on the ground. We try to come down using the strength of our legs to come down nice and slow and controlled. I'll do a few times on each side, but you could do quite a few repetitions of this if you felt comfortable to do it. The next time around, I'll go a little bit deeper. This time I can place my hand on the ground or on my foot, and I'm going to let the toes of the opposite foot come up. And you just can go as deep as your hips are comfortable to do, or your knees, whatever is limiting you. We'll do the same thing on the other side. From here, a wide-legged fold. We try to keep the spine straight. The legs start to straighten out, and with a few breaths, slowly we'll bring our chest towards the ground. Once there, we can come over to one side, and the hands could be anywhere that's comfortable for you. It could be on the floor, on your leg, on the ankle. Don't force anything here. It's quite a deep position. There shouldn't be any back pain here whatsoever. We're going to use our breath to fold deeper into the position. And then one more time, we inhale, straighten the spine, and come forward. I was fortunate to have a nice beam here that I could grab onto, but normally your hands would be on the ground, or you might have a weight on the ground that you hold onto, or something to pull towards that's low. I'm going to come up slowly because my back is quite stretched out. And here we're going to go into a twist, completely revolving with the chest and opening through the arms and breathing. Coming to the other side. You might look at the upper hand if it's open far enough. And then again, using the hip muscles to drive up, inhaling, exhaling, release any tension. Work on some squat. The horse squat has us driving the knees out as much as possible. And we're going to work some strength here just by pulsing slowly up and down just above 90 degrees. You could go higher if you need to, but try not to go lower than 90 degrees, where it then becomes a question of resting on the joints. Keep the trunk muscles strong. Now I'm going to press one side and then the other, effectively opening the hip socket and stretching the spine at the same time. Work with your breath. Try to avoid any pain. You should feel lots of blood flow. Finally, we'll go into the prying squat. We just let our hips sink all the way down now. The elbows tucked into the inner side of the knees. And then you're pressing out gently in order to facilitate more movement into the hip joints. Really try to sit the hips down as if you're sitting on a low chair. Everybody be very different here. In fact, if you're at home and you're finding this a little bit intense, you could sit down on a low stool or set up some blocks. Bring the arms forward, sink a little bit deeper. Now, even to get a little bit more movement there, we'll do a twist. Taking a few repetitions, opening through the right side of the chest and the spine. Allowing yourself to sink deeper into the stretch as you do this. Inhale helps facilitate opening the chest. Now I'm more restricted on my left side, so instead of reaching with the arm, I'm just going to reach the elbow, and that's fine. Eventually, maybe I'll be able to reach the arm. And then at the end, you might find you can sink a little bit deeper. And we're going to slowly press up back into a standing position. Now there should be lots of circulation moving in the hips and legs. We're going to shake it off as we finish this sequence. And this is a perfect opportunity to come into some standing meditation where you're focusing on breathing into the lower abdomen, relaxing the diaphragm, breathing in and out through the nose. And enjoy.